Now we're going to role play a conversation that we could have with the son of the man we've just been talking to as a potential network member.
Okay, so I'm going to play the son. I'm going to be somewhat reluctant because I have a family and I'm working and I'm busy and all those kinds of things.
Okay, we'll see how we get on. So let's start like this. Thanks for talking to me.
That's okay.
As you know, your father had been to see us about getting help with his alcohol problem, and we discussed the need for having a network that was
Yes, he told me about that.
support the change that he wants to make, which is to stop drinking. And your mother has been very helpful in offering her support in the first few days of this to get established.
Yes, I was surprised to hear that. That's
Um,
good though.
and very much, I think that this idea that we are a support network, that we're a team working together, so it doesn't fall on anybody's, the whole responsibility doesn't fall on anybody, on any one person's shoulders, but we would be working together as a team, and the team would be making plans about how each member of the team was going to offer support, what particular support each person is going to offer, what support they can offer both to your father, but also to each other. So I am available to offer support to you, to your mother, as well as to your father. And I think that's a way in which I'm hoping it might feel different to you from how things have been in the past when you've offered your father support.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it'd be great if he stopped drinking, and I'm always, I'll always try and help with that. But I just wonder what might be different this time, because we have done this kind of thing before, and it just he just goes back to drinking again pretty quickly.
And what's your thought about there being a team and you having support?
Well, that actually that would be rather different. We haven't really done anything like you'd call a team before, but maybe that would. I mean, especially if my mother's going to be involved, because we get on okay, and I'm a bit surprised that she was willing to have another go, but that would probably make quite a big difference, I guess. But I mean, it depends what you would want me to do. I'm fairly tied up with work and family, but I'll always do whatever I could to help my dad.
Okay, so the key thing is really the next step is to have that conversation with everybody who is already involved. That is yourself, your father, your mother, me. And if there's somebody else we can think of right away who might also be able to help, and we need to have that conversation about kind of what needs to be done. What are the areas? What are the times of day? What are the things that each person can contribute?
I can tell you what needs to be done. I mean, apart from stopping drinking, obviously the first thing to do, I mean, he needs to get a bit of a different life. I think he doesn't look after himself that well. He doesn't have proper meals. I mean, my wife has made some ready meals which we've taken round for him, and I mean she's pretty good. She's a bit soft with him, really. She's very happy to carry on doing that, and maybe some more. But I guess the big problem is he doesn't really have much to do with his life.
Okay, so you've already suggested both a lot of things that we could look at doing. There are things to do with personal care, things to do with the preparation of meals and how you might go about that. And you've also suggested another person that you might bring into this, which is your wife, who obviously has a relationship with your father and has done things for him in the past. And so we're already increasing the size of the network and getting into our minds the idea that different people make a different contribution, adding up to a kind of bigger package, if you like, of help.
Well,
So
that's a good idea, because in the past it's tended to be one or other of us, and then everything falls on to the one person. But so if you're sort of suggesting we have a bit of a timetable or something for doing different tasks, I think that could maybe work better than it has in the past.
okay, so this would look like got this number of people. We've got your mother, your father, obviously, your wife, and myself. And we're going to have a conversation together about what each person can contribute to helping your father both get off the alcohol and stay off the alcohol. And so there are a number of areas that we need to look at. We need to look at the actual coming off the alcohol, the physically coming off the alcohol and going through those very early days of the constant difficulty in establishing abstinence. And we're looking at the possibility of medication both in the short term and in the longer term. So we're looking at the coming off the alcohol. We're looking at improving your father's personal care and his eating habits. And we're also looking at introducing activities, rewarding alternative activities that are going to help him to maintain this alcohol-free lifestyle. And that would be the agenda
Okay.
for our meeting.
Okay. Well, I mean, that sounds like a good plan. There's a lot of stuff in there, but so are you going to set up the meeting then?
So I, with everyone's permission, will set up that meeting and will invite everybody to come to that meeting, and that will be our agenda.
Okay, well, let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so thank you for doing that role play, Duncan.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if there's anything we want to add to the conversation, to the discussion, before we wrap up, just to our discussion about how that sounded.
I think that was fairly realistic. It all depends on there being one or two people around who care for the person who's got the addiction problem, doesn't it? And that's usually the case. I guess the problem is always, as we discussed before, what happens when you really can't find willing network members. But let's remember, most of the time, for most people, there are willing network members. You might have to dig around a bit, but mostly people do have at least one person that you can involve, and usually more.
Yes, and one person is such a good start. The minute you get one person along, you double the number of ideas that you have in the room about how to go forward. And
Yeah.
remembering the support groups and the fellowships and the other professional groups that we will add into the mix only when we have run out of ideas about personal relationships and
Yes. Yeah.
in the family and friends kind of network. Thank
Yes.
you very much for doing the role play.
Okay.